So today we're going to talk a little bit about the one number you need to know if you want to retire early. It's a little controversial, but it just got an update. So a little history. Back in 1994, a guy named Bill Bengen, who was a financial advisor, came up with a retirement rule called the 4% rule. The 4% rule, simply put, says you should plan to spend about 4% of your retirement nest egg in your first year of retirement, and then spend the same amount each year after, but adjusted for inflation. This was designed to safely fund a retirement for 30 years. So for example, if you calculate that you want to spend about $120,000 a year in retirement, that should represent your 4%, which means you would need about a $3 million nest egg for that first year in retirement. Now, each year after that, you would update it for inflation. So if inflation was 3%, the next year, year two, you would spend $123,600. Make sense? So people have both loved and hated the 4% rule since it came out in 1994. They loved it because it was really simple and accounted for a lot of downside scenarios. They also hated it because it was fairly conservative. So it assumed a 50-50 split between stocks and bonds, which is different than a more aggressive allocation or more diversification in asset classes, which are things that most advisors recommend if people have a time horizon before they retire. However, just recently, 32 years later, Bengen announced a revision to his rule. So now the 4% rule is the 4.7% rule. This happened because of three updates. Number one, the new allocation is slightly more aggressive. 55% stocks instead of the former 50, 40% bonds instead of the former 50, and 5% in cash, which wasn't there before. Number two, it now is much more diversified. His model has 7 different asset classes as opposed to the original 2. And three, just like everything in the last 30 years, the information and the research has gotten better, and the performance of the stock market has improved. In fact, Bengen himself, who retired in 2013, is now up to spending 4.9% per year in retirement. So, what's your number?